Thank you all so much for being here. It is wonderful to see you all in our space. To get us started, I want to introduce Dr. Bob Barish, our Vice Chancellor for Health Affairs. Dr. Barish.
Thank you, Adriana. Everybody can hear me? So I have some prepared remarks, and then I wanted to tell you a little bit about some of my experience as well. So first of all, welcome to everyone, and thank you, Adriana, for the job that you're doing. It's fantastic. And okay, all right. So I want to thank, I call it the Oda Center. We sometimes shorten it, Health Equity Center, for hosting this ceremony and the full day celebration. I know we have a good turnout here, and I know there'll be some other people here after 10 as well. So congratulations also to the Center for the launch of this first signature event in this series. We're proud of the focus of engaging communities from across the Chicago region, which is home to one of the largest urban Native communities in the country. And I think the word is getting out. Every time we have a ceremony now, we talk about that. So this series was developed with the intention of building a common bond around health equity topic that speaks to the collective expertise among our academic and neighborhood communities. So it's my pleasure to welcome Maryellen Baker. Maryellen, and founder of the Abiinooji Aki organization, which translates to Children's Land. Additionally, we also extend a warm welcome to other fellow Native water protectors and community members for taking the time with us today to share in their teachings with the UIC community. So I wanted also to recognize the important work of our partners at the American Indian Health Services, based here in Chicago. Thank you for all your collective time and energy to build today's celebration. I was telling some others here shortly before I came up here that I worked on 3 Indian Health Services as a young doctor, 1979, 1980, that's a long time ago. I worked in Montana, and that's where I learned, I was taught to learn to ride a horse bareback with no saddle. Oh my gosh. And I went to several of the cultural events, including going into the sweat, you know, where you'd go in, and it was unbelievable experience. I learned a lot. It was very spiritual for me. Then I worked up in Bemidji, Minnesota in the middle of the winter. And it was freezing up there, but there's what I was taught to ice fish and by the locals. And I didn't realize you could have a fire on the ice and not fall through. It was that thick, the ice. So I learned quite a bit. I covered the hospitals actually at night alone. It was really amazing experience. And then I went out to Bellingham, Washington, the Lummi Indians in Bellingham, Washington, which is right near the Straits of Juan de Fuca. So I've had 3 different experiences. It was wonderful for me, and the way I was accepted and what I learned was incredibly formative for my development as a young physician, and I'll never forget it. So today, we recognize the 54th, right, Adriana? This is the 54th Earth Day since it began. Now, Earth Day takes on a much broader meaning with a greater focus on our relationship to the Earth and how the health of our planet impacts our own health. At UI Health, we reflect the mission of the university to provide the highest level of care. You know, when we say UI Health, we have 7 health science colleges here. One of the largest colleges of medicine in the country, pharmacy, nursing, dentistry, applied health science, School of Public Health, and social work, combined with the hospital and clinics and the largest urban academic federally qualified health center network in the country. So we're quite large, and we serve not only the city of Chicago, but the state of Illinois. So with that, I'm going to turn the page, and I have a couple other comments. So everybody defines health equity. I was just talking to Michael Westbecker. I'm going to be talking at a fireside chat on health equity. And how do you define it? We understand that health equity should mean that every single patient receives care tailored to their individual circumstances, particularly for historically underserved populations. So that's one of our definitions of it. But health equity also means that we have to pay attention to the social determinants of health, which means, do you have a food desert? Do you have a pharmacy desert? Do you, where you live, is a safe neighborhood? It's not only about getting to the hospital, it's about other things. Do you have transportation? Do you have education? So that's all the things that we get involved in at UI Health, not just when you enter the doors here of the hospital or clinic. So, and that's the definition we look at. We have to pay attention to the social determinants of health to really make a difference. So signature community events that reflect such as this, and how UIC and the academic health enterprise can elevate this message around health equity. These events will center the voices of our patients, neighborhoods, scientists, community advocates, and leaders, all with the mutual goal of improving the health of our families and communities. So the celebration today that's taking place is a way of bringing us together to consider the fundamental responsibilities we have across UIC and UI Health, to show how we can collaborate and invite our community to participate in health equity. So again, thank you to our esteemed guests, organizers, and everyone who's participating today. Thank you, and enjoy the day, Adriana. And I'm going to leave it for a little time. Does anybody have any questions about what we're doing here, what we're trying to accomplish at the university, what our goals are? I'd be happy to take any questions. This is a unique chance to ask me anything. I've been the vice chancellor now for 9 years, and came here from Louisiana, which had their own cultural commitments there in the great state of Louisiana. I'd be happy to take any questions or things that you think we can be doing better to advance the things that we talked about today. So I'll take any questions or any experiences that I've had with the Indian Health Services when I was a young doctor. Be happy to take any questions. Yes. Yes, yes. Thank you. Yes. Yes. Right. Fantastic. I would love to come. Yeah. That's fantastic. Right. Yeah. Oh yeah, Adriana is doing a great job for us. I'm going to see if I can find any pictures of me as a young doctor on that horse in Montana. And they did, I tell you, they just kind of put me on it, and I just had to learn myself. But it was a great experience, and I really loved my time there. But I'm going to see if I can find some pictures of myself in Montana. Yeah, they just threw me on there and said, "You'll figure it out." I remember that. But riding in the prairie, riding was an unbelievable experience, and I had great teachers, so it was great. So thank you for letting me know. I really would love to visit. And Adriana, why don't we follow up with that? Yes. Questions. Question. Yes, I'm sorry. Yes. Thank you. Ah, Cecilia. Yes. Yes.
At the health department. And my question is I just want to work with you all a little bit more closely at this new center, and making sure that the Chicago Department of Public Health can bring our resources here, and we can help be assistance in talking about and promoting what health equity can look like in the right lens. So I just wanted to make sure that you know that, Vice Chancellor, that work with us, and we'll work with you all. And we don't have no money, but we got but we got resources of people like myself, and energy and data, and that's what we want to bring to the table.
Yes. Well, you know, we worked a lot, and we still do at Chicago Department of Public Health. During COVID, we were on speed dial together, right? You know, and we gave, just to let people know, at our at the pavilion, we gave out over 140,000 vaccinations to COVID. We were the largest place that gave out vaccinations, other than eventually the United Center, right? And we worked, that's right. And we went out in the communities. We went out in the communities with Miles Square, but it was nonstop. And that was the beauty of having the College of Nursing and Pharmacy and Medicine all pulling together for the community. And of course, Dr. Wayne Giles, who's our Dean of the School of Public Health, very famous. We recruited him from the CDC. So our School of Public Health is one of the best in the country, but we look forward to it. You know, we're on speed dial together, and it's great to meet you.
But I want to speak about the health.
Oh, yes, I know. Yeah. Fantastic. Right. You know, speaking a little bit about health equity, it all starts with education. And, you know, our College of Medicine, which I said is one of the largest in the United States, number second, sometimes it's first or whatever. But we graduate the fourth largest number of African-American students in the country, other than the three historically Black colleges of Meharry, Morehouse, and Howard. And sometimes we're just above Meharry. So sometimes we're three. And some people don't realize that we are the number one college graduating Hispanic, Latina students in the United States. Puerto Rico it graduates more, but they're not in the continental United States. So we're the number one in the country. So it all starts with actually graduating a diverse group. And now we have 9 indigenous students from across the United States. Just to let you know, in the College of Medicine and now pharmacy, we give in-state tuition to any indigenous student in the United States. So if you're from Montana, you're from California, you're from Washington, wherever it is, when you come here and you apply, you get in-state tuition. And we put that in. So now we have 9, one of the largest in the United States now for indigenous students in the College of Medicine, and the College of Pharmacy has followed as well. I wanted to let you know that as well. So, okay, all right. Oh. That's right. Let me tell you, we have the first Black dean. And when I appointed Carlos Crespo, the Dean of Applied Health Sciences, they stopped me at the board and they said, "Did you know that you just appointed the first Hispanic dean in the history of the university?" I said, "I didn't know that. He just was the best." So we're making progress. We need to do more, but we're making progress. I think we had another question. Another question. Okay. All right. Well, that was a lot of fun. And again, thanks for Adrienne, doing a great job for us. And we hope we have many more events like this. So thank you. Thanks to everybody. Thank you.
Thank you. Now I have 2 mics. Thank you all so much for being here. Bozo, that is a way to say hello or a formal type of greeting in Potawatomi. My name is Adriana Black, and I am the founding director of the Odette Manan Health Equity Center, or the Odette Center for short. On behalf of my team, I want to welcome you all to our very first signature community event, Reflections of Mother Earth, Teaching About Water and Life. This program is being recorded. As we are intentionally celebrating this today on Earth Day, the Odette team wanted to provide all of you with a gift to commemorate the event. Upon arriving at the center, you were all given a little bag with onion bulbs and seeds. Some of you may be asking, why onion? Well, the most accepted Chicago meaning is a word that comes from the Algonquin language, Chippewa, meaning onion. In its early years, Chicago was full of wild onions and leeks. So it's also onion planting season. So if you wet the bulbs a little bit and put them into the earth, they should sprout in about 5 weeks. So hopefully you all can take those home and plant those in your gardens. The Odette Manan Health Equity Center, where Odette Manan is a Potawatomi word for this heart of ours, was launched last September. The mission of this space is to cultivate an environment of trust and belonging for health professionals that are underrepresented, and to facilitate action in pursuit of health equity. Of our 5 core commitments, we particularly sought to provide community care with this event. Depicted by the honeybee in the mural to your right, the honeybees work and represent the good that comes with connection, working together collectively, and caring for one another. During the planning of the Odette Center's launch, I met with wonderful humans from the American Indian Health Service of Chicago. One of them with us here today, Cindy Starr, told me in our first meeting that I needed to meet Maryellen Baker. She told me that Maryellen led Women in Water Symposia and has always wanted to hold one in Chicago. I promised Cindy that I would check in later with her in the new year. And in February, she connected me to Maryellen. Upon meeting Maryellen, she shared that Navy Pier and Lake Michigan appeared to her in a dream about a decade ago. She took that as a sign that she needed to share more about caring for and protecting our water. It has really been a true privilege for me and my team to meet with Maryellen and Stan bi-weekly over the last 3 months to co-create this event. They have taught us what community care really looks like, and we hope to embed that feeling and practice into all that we do in the Odette Center. I would now like to introduce you to Maryellen Baker, founder of Abiinooji Aki, an organization started to assist in the tribe's efforts to combat the high rate of alcohol and drug use through Native American beliefs and practices. Abiinooji Aki is located on the Lac Courte Oreilles Reservation near Hayward, Wisconsin. Without further ado, Maryellen will share Water, Nibi, the beginning of life. Thank you. All right.
Hello,
Hello?
hello, hello.
Okay.
Testing. Well, bonjour. Niogiju Gukwen de Shinakaz, Bijou Dudeng. And Cindy, I'd like to welcome you, Mavis, and Jennifer, and my daughter, my half-brother, adopted brother. Okay. So my name is Niogiju Gukwe, and that means Women of Four Skies. And when I was named, my namer said that the spirits in all the four directions know who I am. So when I have problems and when I have happiness, I always say my name, and I know that the spirits are around me. And Bijou means lynx, and that's my clan. I'm Cat Clan. And I belong to the Medewan Lodge, and I'm 3rd degree. And in our lodge, we have a ceremony every spring, water ceremony. And they call up different clans, Bear Clan, Fish Clan, Loon Clan. And they all come up and they put these little bundles of tobacco on a string that is going to go into the water, Nibi. And when they call up clan, because we're Cat Clan, they say, meow, 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 meow. That's what they do to us. Meow, meow, meow. They don't even say Bijou, they just start meow, meow, meow. So they're always teasing us. And I'm a grandmother in the lodge too. So we're going to talk about Earth Day. And I do a lot of, when I'm asked to come and speak, for about 4 days before, I start thinking about you all. I start wondering what the Great Spirit wants me to tell you. And I do that for 4 days before. And last night we were having a ceremony, and I hadn't got my answer from the Great Spirit yet. And I usually get one word, but last night I got 2. And it said, Earth Day. And I thought, that means I can talk about Mother Earth and all, excuse me, and all that she does Can I have a chair? I hurt my back a little bit ago. So. So the creation story. We all have a creation story. Every one of us has a creation story. Catholics have a creation story. Syrian. A lot of people have creation stories. Well, we have a creation story too. Our creation story talks about the Great Spirit and his duality. Well, I'll spill that. I'll probably kick it over. Talks about the creation, the Great Spirit and the duality, and how and how the I'm a recovering alcoholic. That's my jug, water jug. and and how the Great Spirit thought about us all in that time, and how she planned for our lives, planned for us, and thought, and it was all, if you can close your eyes and picture nothing but vast blackness, dark, nothing there. And just keep your eyes closed, and how he thought for don't know how long in Great Spirit's time. But he imagined us here. He thought about us here. He visioned us here. He visioned our paths. He visioned everything that we needed. Everything that would help us to live a good life. That's what he visioned. And so he created the universe. He created everything in the universe. Everything in the universe has a spirit and has a name. Then he created the planets and all those beings and everything, the galaxies, everything. And the galaxies are so big and so vast, you can't, I don't know of anyone that can think that big. And after he created that, he thought about the planets and Mother Earth. So he continued on and he continued on with his vision. And so he created Mother Earth, created the earth, and on the earth he put the water, separated the water from the dirt, the earth, and so on, kept on. He put life in the water, life in the air, good clean air. And he created vegetation. And the trees, plants, flowers. And then he created the insects, everything that we see underground and on top of ground. And then he created the animals. The animals are every kind of animal that you can think of. That's what he created. That's what he created. And then he said, well, wow, he said, this is good. So I'm gonna put humans here. So he created us humans. And then as humans are really vulnerable. We have some great gifts. One of the gifts is free will. So our free will sometimes gets us into trouble, gets us thinking that we're more than what we are. we're dependent. We're dependent people. I know a lot of people want to say they're independent, but we're not. So with the animals and everything in the sky and everything in the water, everything below earth, and the trees, and us humans. And then the Great Spirit asked, we thought, how are the humans going to live? What am I going to do for the humans to live a good life? And the first ones that come up with the animals, and they said, oh, Great Spirit, we'll help them. We'll help them. And vegetation and trees, and we'll help them too. The fish and the birds, the water, the air, they all spoke up. That they'll help us to live a good life here on earth. So the animals and the plants and all that came before us willingly give up their life for us, willingly said that they'd help us to live a good life. So then we humans, we can't live without them. We can't live without them. But they can live without us. They don't need us like we need them. Everything you see comes from Mother Earth, comes from the vision that the Great Spirit gave to us, gave us life. And then we take advantage of that. We think that we're so powerful that we can do anything. Right now, we're looking for another place to live because the scientists and everybody thinks that the earth is getting pretty bad. So they're looking for another planet that will give us the life that Mother Earth gives us. And also looking for water. Can't duplicate water. It's impossible. And we have to have water to live. The air has to have water to live. We all have to have water to live. In our language, it's Nibi. It's in our language. So then, so with the water, with the water, Nibi is life, and water is life too. I walked with water walkers. Grandmother Josephine walked with her to the St. Lawrence back. And they did a 4 directions walk. I walked down to Tennessee, down to the Gulf and back. And and coming back, we walk every step of the way. At nighttime, we say a prayer where we end it, and we say a prayer there, and we go off, and we get to motels. We come back, we start from that same spot. And there was someplace in Tennessee, and I went up to get something cold for everybody to drink. So I stopped at a McDonald's. It was a small town. And they were about 10 minutes behind me. And so I was in McDonald's and I was ordering all these cold drinks. And pretty soon the walkers started coming. And they have a flag, almost like this one here, feather flag. And the guys were carrying that, the water. Women were carrying the bucket of water. And then there was cars behind them and walkers behind them too. So they started looking out, you know how big the McDonald's, the windows are? They started looking out the windows and they saw the water walkers coming. And they said, oh, there's a parade today. I didn't know that there was a parade. Geez, and then there was police following them too, you know, escorting them. So then they all started talking and wondering about this parade. So I started educating. About the water. And down there was flooding. I started telling them about the water, how we need the water. It's so important for us to live. Nibi, Nibi, Life, life. And so they were all listening, and it was good. It was good. We take time to educate every chance that we get about the need for our water. You know, water is everlasting. And we need water. And when we hold up that water like we did this morning, that water doesn't only, the Great Spirit doesn't only bless that water that we had this morning, but he blessed all the waters that you can see. Every bit of water on earth was blessed this morning. That's how important that is when we hold that water up and we say, thank you for this water. Thank you for this life. Thank you for the life that you've given to me today. So all the waters were blessed this morning. Even the water that's in our body. That was. So if we're crying today and we have tears coming out of our eyes, take those tears and rub them on your hands, rub them on your knees, rub them where you're hurt. So because that water is blessed, that's coming. So we do that. We do that. When we come to Mother Earth, when we brought here, when we're born, when we get here to Mother Earth and our spirit comes into our body, we come through water. That's the only way that we can get here to Mother Earth is through water. That's the only way. So we think about those things. We think about those things as we go throughout our day and take some time to say thank you and to say miigwech for what I've got today. Miigwech for what I'm going to get tomorrow. What I'm going to have tomorrow. What my family has. Miigwech. Like I said, everything that you see comes from Mother Earth. And when we walk into our homes, when my kids were small, I got to tell you something right now. Like I said, I'm a recovering alcoholic. I was drinking a lot. Drank here in Chicago too. My kids were born here in Chicago. My daughter was born at Children's Hospital in Chicago. I was married here in Chicago. I worked here in Chicago. And I got here when I was about 16 years old. I ran away from home. And I started working in the hospital. I work in Henroten Hospital, and they want my birth certificate, and I didn't have one. They want to make sure I was 18, and I wasn't. So I worked there 6 months, and I'd go to another hospital. Northwestern Hospital, I worked there too. I know how to make beds. I was a nurse aide for a long time. So anyway, I've been here. See, I moved home in 1970, about 68, 69. And when Dr. Bob Barish talking in 79 that he worked in Bemidji at Indian Health Service, I think he knew the boss that I had at that time too. And when he said he was out to Dillingham, Washington, I was out there too. But I was thinking, geez, I followed him around. I was just following him around. He didn't even know it. But I wanted to say that when I was here in Chicago, I lived on the streets for a while and lived, I know what it's like to be homeless. When I had my first baby, I was married then, I could have went to the best hospital, but I had my baby at the Cook County Hospital over here where they stayed last night. That's a motel now, I guess. So anyway, and I did a lot of ceremonies here. I've been sober on the wagon, whatever you want to call it. I've been sober about 45 years, so it's been a long time. So when we were out in the garden here and doing the pipe ceremony, it just overwhelmed me because that's the first time that I did a ceremony so close to the hospital where my daughter was born. My oldest daughter, and she's in the spirit world now. And it overwhelmed me with that. I looked up at the sky and I said, oh, Great Spirit, look at me now. I'm okay. I'm okay. Great Spirit, look at me now. And to think that my first ceremony here, close to where I had my oldest daughter, was near the place as I'm going to be talking about Mother Earth today. So us recovering people, we have moments like that, We're so grateful that we live a good life now compared to what it used to be. So I also was thinking about Lake Michigan. When I was here, a real good friend of mine, she was a really, really good friend. She was having it so rough that one night we were down at the beach and we were drinking, of course. And she walked right into Lake Michigan and never came back. And she never came out. I think she waved a little bit and went. So Lake Michigan is really a good place in my heart too. So when we talk about water, we talk about life. Water can take life and it can give life, just like anything. We can give life and we can take life too, us women. So our women are called the life givers. Men are called the protectors of women, protectors of children. And that our women in water, we talk a lot about that, have ceremonies for that. The vision that I had was to help 5,000 women so that they can stand up for water. Some of us were so busy, so held down sometimes too by violence. I lived that too. Violence and that we can't speak up for ourselves. A lot of us women too have a negative view of ourselves. We don't think that our opinions mean anything. But if only because we're life givers, we mean a lot to the world. The Great Spirit didn't give that to men. He gave that to us women. We have a special relationship with the Great Spirit, with God. That He put that trust in us, that responsibility in us, and that strength in us, that we can bring life into the world, to the world that He's created. And we only have that life for a little while. We don't have that life for a long time. The Great Spirit, the elder was telling me we lost one of our babies, crib death. And the elder said that Great Spirit has that child in His hand until they're 5 years old. And after they're 5 years old, they jump off and they start going on Mother Earth themselves. So our children, our children are playing. My daughters did this. They'd make mud pies. They like to go in the water all the time. First thing you see them in, they head for the water. And then they'd say, get in here, don't get all dirty. We're gonna go downtown, you're all dirty, gotta clean you up again. But that little baby, that little child of ours, she knows the strength of Mother Earth and water. Water is so strong. They know the strength. And when they get that on them, what better thing to have on our children is part of Mother Earth. What's better than that? What is better than that, to have our children playing in water and to know water, to know things about the water. We talk about the beginning of life. We talk about the beginning of life. Listen to that now, the beginning of life. Water is so strong. Who knows how old water is? The water that we drank this morning, who knows how old water is, that water is? Who can say when that water came to Mother Earth? Who can say at the exact time that that water was put on Mother Earth? Who can say that? Can anyone say that? No. So who knows, and think about this, that the water that you drank this morning, part of it could have came from the beginning of life. Beginning of life. When the Great Spirit put the water on earth, it could have come from that time. That's how old and that's how strong our water is. And who can say differently when you think about it? So every time you take a glass of water after today, how do you know that you're drinking it from the beginning of the time of life? So some of us are scientists and I hope somebody will take that. My grandfather never went to school, never moved up to the reservation. We lived way out in the country. The only one that knew about us was the bears and the wolves, snakes. They're the only ones that knew about us out there. But when I was small, he told me, he says, my girl, and this is in the Ojibwe, he says, my girl, when you get up in the morning, he says, take half a glass of water, half a cup of water. We had cups. Yeah, half a cup of water. Not too cold and not too warm. He said, drink that every morning of your life. He says, when you sleep, he says, you're half dead. He says, your body works for you. Your body does things for you. And he says, in the morning when you wake up, you drink that, you flush those old things out. And then not too long ago, I don't know, about 30 years ago, not too long ago, I was listening to some friends of mine talking about the cells in their body, and how it regenerates, and the old cells die and the new ones come. When we're on our moon time, what happens to us on our moon time? And I thought about my grandfather and how he was talking to me that morning. And that's what he was talking about. That old, taking care of that old and bringing in that new, helping us to rebuild those cells and all the tissues and all the bones, all that in this spirit house right there. He was talking about that. And he didn't go to school. He didn't go to college. He barely went. I don't think he ever went off the reservation. So where did he learn that? Who told him that? The only one that told him that was probably the Great Spirit in his dreams, or his grandfather and his grandmother. So we can do that to help ourselves. The best thing that we can do to help ourselves is take care of ourselves. Eat right. Drink lots of water. Water is healing. You got anything wrong with you, drink a lot of water. It's good. You know, my mother was in the boarding school. Y'all hear about the boarding school? Boarding school, a lot of Indians were put in the boarding school, trying to make them less savages. That's what they used to call it. So my mother was in the boarding school, and in the boarding school they cut off their hair. We always had long hair. They cut off her hair. They made her wear shoes. She couldn't talk her language. She had to learn English. So she ran away. She didn't stay there. I call her a boarding school dropout. That's what I call her, a boarding school dropout. So she got home, and the boarding school was in a town called Hayward, and that's like 24 miles from where my grandpa and my grandma lived, her mother and dad. And I don't know how she got home. 8 years old, I don't know how she got home. She must have walked with my sister. So they found her, they went and picked her up again. My grandfather let her go. They took her back to the school again, and she ran away again. So she was a two-time boarding school dropout. Delinquent. can't make it in the school. So they did. So this time, my grandfather, when she got home, he didn't let her go back. But, you know, she didn't stay there like years and years and years like they thought that she was going to stay. But the time that she did stay there, it really affected her. It affected her so much that when she had children, she was afraid for us to talk our language, afraid she'd lose her kids, afraid they'd come and get her. So then when I had my children, I moved home and we started doing ceremonies and started doing pipe ceremonies and naming ceremonies because all those things were gone. They didn't allow it. So when I started moving home, my mother was afraid. She would go in the other room. She wouldn't join us until she started seeing how happy we were. No drinking anymore, no police coming to our house anymore, and started seeing how happy we were and that I didn't lose my kids. Cops didn't come and take my kids. So then she started teaching me a lot. So that's part of life. That's part of being alive. In those days, we weren't alive. We were existing because we didn't have the teachings. We didn't have the roots. Because when we have those teachings, no matter what nationality you are, you have those teachings that are roots that you can hang on to, that help you to develop the kind of life that you want. Helps you when nobody else can help you because you have those teachings inside of you. So when we didn't have the teachings about water, what did we do? We abused water. We didn't think so much about. There was a little stream in back of my grandpa's house. We used to go out there and get water all the time. We hated the job, you know, carrying water. And it was my work because I'm the only girl with my brothers. I had to do the inside work. They did the outside work. But they would help me get water all the time. My job was to get water. I'm in our lodge. I'm also water line. My daughter, her daughter, granddaughter, and then all the way back, my mother, my grandfather, my mother, my grandmother, so on down the line, all the way back. That's bringing it forward. Now we're bringing the teachings forward so that my daughter and her daughter and her granddaughter and so on are going to get what we leave. And if we don't leave good water to drink, if we don't leave good air to breathe, if we don't leave those kinds of things for our children and our grandchildren, and we say 7 generations ahead of us, what are they gonna do? Are they gonna have to run out and go for miles and miles to get water? The bottled water that we drink today, we don't know what's in there. I had a bottle of water in my car for 2 days, and and it was warm. And when I got in the car and I opened it up after 2 days being in there, I opened up the bottle and I was going to drink it, but I smelled it and it was oil. It smelled like oil. Those real flimsy bottles that Nestle puts out, that's oil. They're made out of oil. Those flimsy bottles, that's all you're drinking is particles of oil. So we've got to watch where we get things. Nestle takes the water out of Lake Michigan here and puts it in bottles. And they don't have to follow any kind of rules and regulations and things like that. And then we buy them with the money that we make, our hard-earned money. We buy from them who take from us. Water is supposed to be our own natural gift from the Great Spirit, as well as clean air. That's free gifts to us. But yet, it's getting so because of our negligence, because of our abuse, because of the way we look at life, we're running out of water. And like I said, there's no duplication. They can't go in a science lab and get us water or figure it out. So when we're dirtying up the water as fast as we can, and we have to start looking at that. We have to start thinking about that. We have to start wondering about that. We have to start doing something about it. So last night, when I go talk, I like give you something that you can take home, that you can think about things when you see this object, this article that I'm going to hand or give you. When you think about that, maybe you didn't like everything I said, but maybe you liked one thing I said, or half a thing I said, or one word I said. And that article that you take with you today can help you to remember that. You know, so we have the animals in our life, and one of the articles that I'm going to give you is made from an animal, made from what we call a deer, venison, deer, Ojibwe. That's what we call it in Ojibwe. And when our men and boys go out hunting, before they go hunting, they take whatever they're going to use to take a life, an arrow, a gun, a knife. They take that and they smudge that. They smudge that with our medicine. And they'll smudge that and then they'll talk for that life that they're going to take. Whether it's fishing, whether it's hunting, whether it's gathering medicine, gardening, whatever life that we're going to take. Because even the weeds, even the grass that we walk on is life. Even the spiders and the ants and the worms and all, they have life too. They have a spirit. So we have to talk to those spirits. We have to talk to that spirit. We have to send that spirit back to the Great Spirit, back to where it came from, just like us. So when they take that life, that's what they do. They put down tobacco and they talk for that life. So what I made these articles out of is part of that. It's the hide that comes from the venison, the deer. That hide that you're going to have with you, that piece of that on that article of that deer that you're going to carry with you, that's come from that deer that was prayed for, that was talked for, that willingly gave its life so that we can have something today. So that we can have something that'll guide us, protect us. That's a protection piece too. So when you carry that with you, you think. When I was working with that, that hide, that deer hide, I was thinking about that life that was inside of that hide at one time, and how willingly he gave that life for us. We took the meat, we took every part of that, and we dignified all the things that we didn't use, the bones, the guts, things like that. We dignified that by having a ceremony and burying that, making sure it was taken care of. We just didn't throw it out, throw it away. So that's what we do to fish. Those fresh fish that we eat. Our elders teach our young men how to hunt. And when they're young men, when they get their first kill, they'll show it with the elders. They'll share it with the elders. They just don't keep it for themselves. During hunting season on during our reservation, all the communities that live, they have dumps, garbage place, waste dumps, or whatever you want to call them. And game wardens and people go out there, and there's, I don't know how many carcasses of deer that's out there. The only thing that's coming is the head. That's where they're taking up. That's why they're taking that meat. We don't do that. Now, the one thing we don't do is we don't kill a bear. My daughter, she takes care of bears. And we use what we can. And we'll dignify that bear and having a ceremony and saying thank you for that. So when we look at Mother Earth today, you know, what are we going to do? What are we going to do to change our way of life? Because we have to change our way of life to be able to change Mother Earth, to help Mother Earth. We have to change our own way of life. And what are we going to do that? You know, our even a little bit of things that we do, just a little bit, doesn't have to be much. If we save some water while we're wetting our toothbrush, and we turn off the water right away, that's just a little bit. But think of how great it will be for our generations and generations to come. If we do that. So any questions?
Thank you, Maryellen. Any questions?
I know, am I running over here?
You're perfect, Maryellen. You can do no wrong.
Or didn't I talk enough?
Thank you, thank you. Questions so far?
I want to show you what I got for you. Ooh. This is the buckskin right here. This is part of the deer that I was talking about. And these are little, we call them pony beads. Two animals, a pony and a deer. But these you can hang on your belt. You can put these where that you'll see them. You can put them on your wrist. You can hang them from your hair. You can put them in your purse. You can do what you want with them, but make sure that you get one when you leave. If you don't want to take it, that's up to you. But I hope you do, because if you do, I know that things are going to change for the better for Mother Earth. We also have Stan. Oh, you get your own. Okay. And I made this. So we call it dream catcher. And I have some pieces of cloth that you can come. I want to give you something. I want to give you something today. And I can do that. I want to give you the hope and the joy of every day of your life. One of the things that I'm going to give you is to share with you that I have some material up here that too comes from Mother Earth. And I want to, when you hold that material in your hand, your left hand, I want you to think about what you're going to do to help yourself to live a good life. And when you think about that, I want you to tie it on here. Tie it on here. Then I'm going to take it home. I'm going to take it home and I'm going to hang it in our lodge. And that all your dreams and all your hopes and all your wishes that you want for yourself is going to be in our lodge. And every time we have a ceremony, we're going to be smudging this and blessing this and thinking about you. Thinking about you and how you're doing, and your happiness, and your joy, and your hope. So that all of our children in the days to come can have a good life. Make wish.
Make wish. Can everyone please join me in thanking Maryellen today? Thank you. Yes, please, 1 second. Let me give you a mic, Cindy.
Living here in the city and enjoying that beautiful lake that we have here, and that knowing that that's our main water source for all of us here and in other states. And if we don't clean up and take care of Lake Michigan, we watch the water lines go down. We watch them come up. And that water we get in each one of our homes. If you think about it, that's where it comes from. And then it's recycled. And hearing a lot of Maryellen's stories, I get something new, or I start thinking about it. So even I try not to buy Nestle. Try not to buy any bottled water. But if we have to, and there's some left in that bottle, and especially when they hand it out at meetings or events like this, and there's some left, don't take it and pour it out. Don't throw it in the trash to stay in that bottle. Collect it and then go outside and put some out there for the trees. Put some out there for the birds to have a drink. And I'm scared of snakes. I don't like snakes. But they need a drink too.
No, they don't.
And one of the medicine, another medicine person that was very dear to me and taught me a lot too, he said, snakes are the closest thing to the ground and in those medicines that we have, those medicines that we pick. He said, don't be scared of those snakes, but I'm scared of those snakes. But that's all I wanted to say is be at work. We have a sewing circle at American Indian Health. And if they buy us the big gallons. So we just put little cups out there. But some people bring in bottles of water. So we don't throw them out. We put them in our iron to iron our cloth with to get the steam. Or we water the plants. She's bringing back a poinsettia plant back. It's starting to re-sprout because we've been collecting the water and adding it in there. So there always is a use for that water somewhere. So I just wanted to share what I guess my spirit is telling me to share with everyone.
Thank you so much. Thank you all so much. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to break for 10 minutes while we set up for the next session. Feel free to get more coffee, more water, any more food, and also feel free to sit on the floor if you are willing and able, as that is something that is tradition in these types of settings. So feel free to sit on the floor as well. And we will be back here in about 10 minutes. Thank you so much.
Language.
Hello again, everyone. So next we will move to our second session, Women in Water, Teaching, Singing, and Healing. And it is my honor to introduce the following speakers. Anne Hermann is a descendant of the Mohawk Nation of Cornwall Island in Ontario, Canada. She was born in Sheboygan, Michigan, near the Straits of Mackinac, and is deeply connected to water. She was raised in Michigan, New Mexico, and Wisconsin. Her education includes degrees in social work and nursing, and has worked 25 years as a public health nurse, serving people immigrating to Wisconsin from Laos and other parts of the world. She is blessed with the name Nibi Mandukwe, Water Spirit Woman, and the water connection has evolved into a responsibility to care for and protect our water. Beginning in 2012, she has been a part of the Women in Water Coming Together Symposium Planning Committee. Bill Buchholtz is a longtime Chicago area resident who has been playing and recording music of many genres for 5 decades. He now performs Native American flute and piano. Bill is primarily known for his ongoing work with churches, interfaith, social justice, and environmental groups, museums, and cultural events, including powwows. He has released his own CD, The Journey Home, on which he plays both Native American flute and piano, and which features his original songs. He has appeared on Yo-Yo Ma's Silk Road Ensemble CD. Greg Hermann holds an MS in speech and language pathology, speech therapy, which offered life experiences with people undergoing medical and personal challenges. Connecting with children, elders, veterans, and their families was his true education. He is a citizen of the Sault Ste. Marie tribe of Chippewa Indians out of Michigan. He was born in St. Ignace, Michigan, near the Straits of Mackinac, and comes from the rich heritage in both the Sault Ste. Marie and Mackinac Strait areas. Here, the water meet, converge, give and take life, and Mother Earth gave birth to him. He was raised in the Christian tradition and started his journey towards his Ojibwe roots in the year 2000. He is continuing his plan in Ojibwe culture and tradition with emphasis on his relationship to Mother Earth and the human and non-human relatives on whom we rely for our thriving lives. And finally, Stanley Oda is an award-winning recording engineer and producer with over 50 years of working in the industry. He has engineered music, radio, and TV commercials, educational and industrial films, radio theater, live sound, movie sound, and video game audio. He has a BS in electrical engineering from the University of Illinois, Urbana-Champaign. Some of the people he has recorded include James Taylor, Mavis Staples, Jennifer Hudson, Willie Dixon, Lonnie Brooks, Tom Hanks, Halle Berry, Oprah Winfrey, Mike Ditka, Michael Jordan, Jesse Jackson, and Barack Obama. He has been involved in the Women in Water Coming Together Symposium since its inception. And with further ado, Anne, Bill, Greg, and Stanley. Thank you all so much.
Hello.
There
There we go. Bujun in the way Maganido. Ishkade Bene Indigenikas, Babashe and Odem. Ojibwe Nishnabe and Dow, Medei and Nini Tamandao. Bawating Gaye Mikana Sing and Dunjaba. Nungum Gijigad, Fond du Lac, Wisconsin and Dunjaba. Hi. Nindawe Maganiduk. All of my relatives all of my relatives. We had a chance this morning to share our sacred pipes out among the trees. I like what you said about the snakes, because if you mention the word, usually when you mention the word snake around Ellen or Ann, you get the look. And so that was gutsy. Couple of things. We mentioned Women in Water Coming Together Symposium. And as we began that journey, I don't know how long ago, a theme that we're bringing to this year's, it's been prominent in every ceremony we conduct. Everything is of the spirit first. Everything is of the spirit first. You watch us work with asema, one of our 4 sacred medicines, tobacco. Tobacco is our way of initiating our connection with spirit. Most powerful in that pinch of ceremony, if you will, is the acknowledgement of a reciprocal relationship with all of creation. For me, that's been a difficult journey because I was taught power over, not power within. Power over. We've been given this, especially as men, we have power over women. Our Ojibwe society and most indigenous societies that I'm familiar with is they're matriarchal. Where does that put us as men? Where does that put us as men? When we look at our native societies, we see a lot of abuse, but we don't have to be limited to that. Any society, what we do as men over women, and I look to my relationship with Anne early in our relationship. I didn't have to get physical with her. She was born into a family where she worked to keep the peace. So if there was a disagreement, all I had to do was this, and she backed away until the day she found her voice. And the blessing is I was able to tolerate her voice. Now listen to that word, because we were doing volunteer work in a women's prison. And I can see her like she's sitting right here. Her name was Diane. And I had been working on tolerating Anne. And Diane looked at me, she said, well, isn't that nice? You tolerate this woman. So here's an inmate giving me a lesson on what respect should look like. So power over versus, this doesn't give you a good view of the sacred hoop of life, where all creation has a space on the sacred hoop. Each snake, each deer, each little bug, each grain of sand, each tree, each of us holds a space with purpose and obligation. With purpose and obligation. And my obligation is to recognize that each act, each word I speak has an impact on that entire hoop. Has an impact on that entire hoop. So when the hoop is healthy, I'm healthy. When I'm ill, the hoop is out of balance. So that obligation we carry to each other, that's in that term, Nindawe Maganiduk, all of my relatives. I have an obligation to that. I have an obligation to that. Maryellen very briefly mentioned moon time. As women, you carry water. She also mentioned that we as men are responsible to provide and protect. I used to get a real masculine feeling about providing and protecting for her. You've heard us talk about great spirit. Je Manidu, Manidu, we hear as spirit, but we also hear as mystery. And in this lifestyle, there's a mystery where the four colors of man, I think of the four sacred elements, earth, wind, fire, water. Do they, and this hasn't been too long ago, I let Anne do something. Wasn't that nice of me? I let. And I don't think the English language has an adequate way of saying, honoring the space of, and I think of especially water and fire. You know, she carries the water name, I carry the fire name. Well, each of those two elements can destroy and bring life. And the mystery of experiencing, I mean, we've had, excuse me, our daughter lives on Maui, 20 miles from Lahaina. And her dear friends have lost everything. One of her friends' family carried another family to the water to safety. And when we were in Maui in January, it's Lahaina strong. Lahaina strong. And what that tragedy did to bring the world together, really. That's mystery. That's mystery. And so what I do to provide and protect, what you do to give life, there's a mystery there. I'm coming to appreciate, I mean, even in our day in, day out relationships, there's times I know this is a time I need to respect what she's saying. And I wish I could tell you how I learned that. But there's a time when she said, no, we're going to do it this way. Okay. And it wasn't the battle from previous years where my ego was impacted. And having said just the word ego, when we engage in ceremony, those of you who are with us for the pipe ceremony, the smudge Maryellen talked about, any of the medicines we have that you've been gifted here can be burned. We wash, we clean away. And I'm trying to become mindful of clean away ego so I can more fully participate. And let that power over lifestyle continue to dissolve to a point where I can recognize who we are together. Who we are together. So And I talk about the medicines there. We hold a talking circle at home, and we bring in our artifacts, our medicines, really. But I emphasize that the medicine brought to us primarily is when our hearts come together. You bring the strength and courage of your story, of your way of life, of your gift to the circle, of your gift to the circle. And that's a power that doesn't go over anybody. If you've ever witnessed a powwow, or there's a variety of reasons we will sit around a large drum. But quite often you'll see in the tradition I practice, men sit at the drum. We were invited just next week by a group of nuns, but we want to play the drum. And it's going to be a good challenge to recognize, number one, we don't play these things. We bring voices out. We bring a voice out. It's not a toy to be played with. But number two, when we as men sit, our first lesson is there might be 6, 10, 12 of us, but our first lesson is there should be one heartbeat coming out of that one. Because if I get out, that lead drummer will kick my drum beater off of it and then bring me back into the circle to one heartbeat. To one heartbeat. That's where we are on the hoop. One heartbeat, one breath. And so that reciprocal obligation we have to each other is moving, it's becoming a lifestyle, and to look around, you know, we see the 4 colors. I'm going to back just for a minute. Maryellen talked about our creation story. And one of our elders, when he talks about the creation story, and that time before time when Maryellen asked to close our eyes and imagine nothing, blackness, if that's what nothing is, but imagine that time. And creator knowing that I'm love. What does love look like? What does love look like? And then when the separation of water and earth was observed, oh, that's what love looks like. And then at one point, a flower came up out of a rock. Oh, that's what love looks like. And then the birds began and their choir. Oh, that's what love sounds like. That's what love sounds like. And the expression I love the most, the first time Creator saw a babe at breast. Whoa. That's what love looks like. So to take a look around, and he spoke of the beauty of the regalia we see in so many indigenous people. It's that participation in creation. That's what love looks like. I watch her at the sewing machine for hours and hours and watch what her love looks like. And each of us that participates in any way, shape, or form, you're going to hear Bill with his flutes. That's what love sounds like. And the touches, the affection we share with each other, that's what love is like. And so that obligation we carry to each other, that obligation to respect all who are put in our path. And to go beyond. I'm not sure what that is, but there's times I know we've been together for 54 years. There's times that I know when we don't have a word to put that experience of love. My sister Karen and I get at each other. You saw her rifling through my bundle, looking for a piece of chocolate. But Karen and I carry an affinity for good dark chocolate. But this is what love looks like. And then there's times, whoever it is, we have to go nose to nose to evolve into what love looks like. The necessity of being our voices heard. And boy, my ego doesn't like to listen oftentimes. So these ways that have been passed on to us, the sacred, we call it the sacred law, but we are created in an order and have been given, in our tradition, we've been given 7 grandfather teachings that when upheld, life is really good. Minimabodisi, Maryellen mentioned, that good life, a life that has balance, that has mutual respect, that really, in the midst of all we're dealing with right now, whether it's political, whether it's wars over there, whether it's wars on our street, whether it's, and I have to say thank you, Chicago, because I was frantically searching for the right exit and I zigged and zagged out of a couple of lanes and the driver behind me just flashed their lights and let me go. Like this kid from the sticks up north didn't know where he was going because that's what love looks like. That's what love looks like. And that's when we look to those sacred laws that we live out. I'm usually a pretty good driver. I mean, a pretty courteous driver, but every now and then, that's not what love looks like. So to struggle in a power over society to bring a lifestyle of a sacred hoop is where our hope is. That's where our hope is. Because these, we've been taught, like I said, my action impacts the hoop, impacts 7 generations. One of the family reunions before my grandma passed away, we had 5 generations at that family reunion. So it's not, when I first heard it, it really sounded undoable, but it's very doable. We are here because the 7 generations before us, and you've heard talk, generations who have survived boarding school, generations who have survived, who have thrived through genocide. And it's not just Native American peoples who have survived those kinds of things. But it's our generations that brought us to where we are today and make us who we are, so we can stand in a space like this and honor us all. So I haven't taken up 10 minutes. She's not back there. Go ahead. So one thought. As women, I'm going to back up once more. One of the questions that we ask in our symposium is, what will you do for the water? And as Maryellen mentioned, we spend some time before this. And what popped up to me was, you as women who carry this water, what will I do for you? You carry life. What will I do for you? And to the two grandfather teachings that come most strongly to mind, Menaj Idewin is respect, Dabasendusuwin is humility. And humility in our way of being is, yes, I am less than, but I have a place on that hoop, a place with purpose and obligation. That doesn't mean I'm useless. It means I'm less than the whole, but I contribute to the whole. And as male, female, I have obligation and purpose. Not above, not below, but that holds us in balance the same way your reciprocal responsibility to me is, to hold us in balance. And that concept of respect, to go easy on, to honor a space. Again, in my English mind, I have a hard time dealing with it. And I am not a language speaker. I've got some phrases that sound really eloquent, but I do not know the language other than to know there's better ways than English to do it. And any of you who are bilingual, I'm sure you can identify with that. But to recognize the mystery in how we hold each other in balance through our obligation and purpose, I think as we continue to accept purpose and obligation, that sense comes. That sense comes where I really don't have to question it. I simply know. And so with that, one question that came out in some of the registrations, I'm going to paraphrase, and to me, I don't like the way it sounds, but this: how can I, as a white person, bring the message of sacred water? Does anybody recognize that? Anyway, all of us have indigenous roots. These four colors that are represented on our sacred hoop are those four indigenous peoples that all started as indigenous peoples. And our society wants to think, this power over, no, you're American, you should talk American, you should think power over. No, our identity is in our roots. Maryellen mentioned that. Our identity is in our roots. And we can all go to those roots and know that we're responsible for this gift of earth, wind, fire, and water. And when I first started walking these ways, because I was raised in the power over, quote unquote, white society, there was unlearning there. Yes, I'm Ojibwe, but I'm French and German too. And when I go back and look, they had some real strong roots. I don't have to apologize for those. I don't have to want to be anything other than who I am. So whoever you are, take that obligation to honor the sacred water, the wind, the earth, the fire, and follow the generations that came before you. So with that, I'll say, Miigwech Bizendawieg. Thank you so much for listening. Yeah, I got to look at this one. I told you I know some of these, but some of them I still have to practice. Agasana Yangwamazen, please take care. Take care of yourself, your space, and know your relationship on that hoop. The spirits will decide when we shall meet again. Thank you.
Testing, testing.
Bonjour, Nindaway Maganita, Nibi, Maneduque, Indigenous, Mohawk, Cornwall Island, Canada, and Ojibwe. I just said that. Okay, I tend to have a soft voice, so if you can't hear me, let me know. What I said was hello, all my relatives. My name is Water Spirit Woman. I'm from, my legacy is from Mohawk from Cornwall Island, Ontario. My name is Anne, which means grace. So that's who I am. First of all, I've been thinking a lot as we're sitting here today about the original people here on this land in the Chicago area. I just like to recognize them and honor them today. And I'd also like to recognize and honor our elders that are here sitting with us. It's a privilege to have them sitting with us, and the wisdom they bring. Which, I'd like to start out by saying Happy Mother's Day for our Earth Mother. When I think of what our Earth Mother does and the life she sustains and gives and protects and teaches from, is no different than our biological mother, except she'll always be there. And so what does it mean? To me, it means relationship. And that relationship for me began as with you in the water in the womb of my mother. I was born right on the river. The hospital was right next to the river in Sheboygan, and the home I grew up in was right on the Lake Huron side of this Straits of Mackinac. At night, if it was quiet, you could hear the lapping of the waves on the sand. And almost every place we've lived, I've been right next to the water. Behind our house was a woods that always offered a lot of adventure, and where I wasn't supposed to go when my parents were working, but I did. And I'd time it so I knew when they would call to make sure I was okay so that I could go and be in the woods. And the wood line followed right along the shoreline. And so I never got lost because I always listened. And if I could hear the water, I knew where I was in the woods. And I'd come out at a place where an abandoned old sawmill from the lumbering days was still, the foundation was still standing. And I could play there and then head back home. And as long as I heard the water, I knew how to get there. So I learned to listen to the water. And so that's how my relationship began. And I always knew I had indigenous roots. My parents would talk about it, but that was kind of a shameful thing. And so I didn't know. I knew, but I didn't know. And so finally, about when I first entered my 50s, I met a man who started teaching me. And so I felt like I turned around and I started walking towards home then. Because water carries our blood memories, carries those memories of our ancestors, and we have them. And so I offered tobacco and I asked for a name. And the name came, Water Spirit Woman. And it scared me. I didn't like it because to me, it said responsibility. What are you going to do? That question came up right away. What are you going to do? What are you going to do for the water? You ask for it, now you have to do it, to walk it. And so I sat with it for a few years. And then Greg started going to the Medea Lodge, and he met Maryellen, and Maryellen came into my life, and it's been changed since then. It's been blessed since then. So I've gotten involved with Women in Water, and it's a journey. But it's answered the question. It's helped me answer the question. What am I going to do for the water? And so again, I go back to the idea of relationship and being in relation with water. And water has a lot of voices. I always say, listen to the water, listen. And sometimes she's gentle and soft and sweet, like a stream. Sometimes she rages, and she partners with the wind, and she lets her presence be known. And so for me, being in a relationship is listening, but it's also speaking. The first thing I do after I get up in the morning and I have my water, because Maryellen's taught me the importance of that, is when I'm in the shower, I let the water run over me and I talk to the water and I thank the water for my life, and I thank the water for waking me into this new day and for cleansing me and all the things the water does for me. And then I pray that water blesses my family. And so if you ask yourself that question, what will I do for the water? The thing is to develop a relationship. And listen. And be grateful. Always grateful. There's a lot of things you can do for the water. Join us for our water symposium in August. It's a way to learn. It's a way to be immersed in the culture. It's a way to heal and gather strength and courage. So you too, if you listen, can find a way to stand for the water. I think of some of the things people I know have done is get involved with Milwaukee Water Commons, or protest on line 3 and line 5, or just personally conserve. And be aware that water has spirit, water has memory. When you think of water coming from the heavens and coming down and nourishing us and loving us and caring for us, and then evaporating back up in and over for centuries. And one of our elders said, you're drinking the water that your ancestors drank. So I'm going to end right now and just say, listen to the water and let it take you home.
Thank you, thank you. And now we will hear from Bill and his Indian flutes. Yep. And to those online, we're going to see what this sounds like without the microphone. And if we need to use it, we will turn it on. Let's see what it sounds like. Okay.
I guess I do need this. My name is Bill Buchholtz. My ancestors come from the Three Rivers area up in Canada, between Montreal and Quebec. I could talk about my long journey getting to where I'm at now, but that would take more than 10 minutes. So all I want to do first is say Pukinagay Mukwa Indigenikas, Mukwa Dotem. Spirit name is Conquering Bear, and my clan is Bear. As I was sitting over there listening to all this, I thought about it's been 28 years I've been sober, and I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for my sister Maryellen and Abiinooji Aki sharing the teachings that helped me get sober. A very strong woman. My wife Carol and Maryellen, I couldn't have found two women any stronger than them, and I'm grateful to be here today because of them. And then I had another elder in the Chicago community gift me a flute a few years back. And I said, well, this is a nice gift, but I don't know how to play this. You know? And they said, oh, yeah, you do. So I thought, okay, well, I'll keep it for a year. And then I know the tradition is when you're gifted something, you can't give it away until a year has elapsed. So I thought that's what I was going to do. Three weeks went by and I picked it up one day and just started playing it. So, and since then I've learned many teachings about the flute. I asked an elder once what in our language is this called? And he said, Pipagwan, translated loosely wooden whistle. So this is a Pipagwan or woodland flute. Somebody said to me once, oh, are you a flautist? And I said, no, I play a wooden flute, but I like that dish. It's a Mexican dish, isn't it? Flautis. So, Pipagwan. The first song I'm going to play is a song I learned from a friend, Ojibwe, a friend up in Canada. It's a family song, and it's been in his family for hundreds of years. And it's a bird that's around the Great Lakes, central and southern Canada, and northern Wisconsin, Minnesota, around the Great Lakes, basically. And the only time you hear this bird is in the fall, in the spring, and in the summer. In the winter, it flies south to warmer climates. So his family came up with a song that they played. And this is how, when they heard the bird and they stopped hearing it, they knew that winter was just around the corner. And when it came back in the spring. So when they first started hearing the bird again, they knew that, well, summer is just around the corner, but this is spring. Let me play the sound of the bird so you can hear it. I don't think I need the mic for this. One other song that I want to play came to me about a month and a half ago. And that's how some of the songs that I've written that are on my CD, some just came to me all in one piece, or I'd hear different pieces at different times and I put them together. This one came to me all at once. And when I hear a melody that kind of sticks with me, I play it and practice it as many times as I can so it stays in my head. And I played it for somebody, it was about 2-3 weeks ago. And I said, what are you going to call it? And for some reason, Gokumis's Sorrow came to me. And I thought, okay, that is kind of a sad song, but why? I wonder why that is. Well, 2 days after that, I got a call from a group doing a prayer vigil for a Native youth who was killed in Oklahoma. And they wanted to know if I would play a song for them on that for that prayer vigil. And I thought, well, now I know why the song came to me. And this person, the only family he had at that point was 2 grandmothers. So when I thought, Gokumis's Sorrow made sense to me. And this is the song. Should I play one more? Do you want to hear something traditional, or would you like to hear a contemporary song? Everybody always says that. I want to do the other. Okay. Well, define traditional. Yes. Somebody asked me once, my wife asked me once if I could play this traditional song of Chicago. And I said, what was it? And she told me, I said, it's not a traditional song. And she looked at me and said, it's traditional to Chicago. And I said, but it's not a native song, Carol. And she said, it's native to Chicago. I'll tell you the song. I won't play it unless I get a lot of applause. It's kind of a northern song, not a southern song. I'll play a couple of notes and then I'll go into another song. So this is the one she wanted me to learn for her, and I did. You know the song, right? Okay. So I have that knack of being able to pick up songs after I hear them. And this one song that really has stuck with me, and it's one of Carol's favorite songs. And it's traditional to some people. And I know some other traditional songs I could play, but I want to play this one. It's a song that some guy wrote for his girlfriend many, many years ago. And it's a song off of an album that his group did called The White Album. And this guy wrote this for his girlfriend. It's a song called I Will. Well, now I can play a real traditional song. Let's see. There's a couple that have been shared with me. I know there was a traditional song that inspired me to write a song to honor both my birth mother and my adopted mother. And I think I'll share that with you. When I wrote it, I performed it on my CD. I played it on piano and accompanied myself with the flute. Not at the same time, of course, but that's how they can record the different parts. So it's called A Mother's Heart. It goes something like this. Thank you. The last one I'm going to play, it's a song that's from a certain tribe, and I know at least 150 or more native musicians that have played this song in some form or another. And it's from the Zuni tribe out in the Southwest. They have a reservation that's part of the Navajo reservation for what I know. And it's called the Sunrise Song. And usually when it's performed, it's actually played or sung by a male to the four directions to wake people up in the morning. Henceforth, the name the Sunrise Song. Here it is. Thank you. Miigwech.
Miigwech, thank you so much, everyone. And now I see that people are trickling in, which means only one thing, food. So thank you all so much. We're going to begin our next session after we eat with Stan's talk, as we didn't get to it just now. So Stan will lead us off, and then we will lead into session 3. So it's now time for our feast. Large gatherings such as this one that are meant to bring people together and to connect and celebrate are traditionally known as feasts. During our feast today, you will notice the absence of forks and knives. This is intentional. It is important to avoid the presence of sharp objects during the feast. Please join us in a meal catered by Chef Jessica, Chicago's only Native American executive chef. We will resume at 1 o'clock Central Time. Thank you so much. Please feel free to join us in a meal. Thank you. Hello, there. Okay, it's working. Go ahead.
Bujuminua, Ishkidebene, Indigenous Wabashi and Dodem. A tradition of our feast is that we feed the spirits first. So I will go through and take bits of each food item. I will offer tobacco, and then I will take that across the street and offer it back to Mother Earth. So if you'll bear with us just for a couple of minutes, we would appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And I also join you all to sit on the floor if you are able, to give some of the chairs to our elders who have joined us today. If you are able to sit on the floor, that is customary and we very much welcome it. Thank you. Hello, everyone. Thank you again for being here. We're going to go ahead and continue on with our next session. And with that, we gave the introduction in the bio earlier today, but with that, we are going to welcome Stan to the stage. Stan.
Okay, 1, 2, 1, 2. Okay, thank you. Okay, I struggled to think about what to talk about, and I was looking at the title, Teachings About Water and Life. So I thought I'd talk a little bit about Ojibwe teachings of life, and specifically the 7 grandfather teachings of the Ojibwe culture. And for those of you who are not familiar with that, the 7 teachings are respect, love, courage, honesty, wisdom, humility, and truth. Okay, I did that. Wow. So, and that's the way you stay in balance with nature and be in harmony with nature and live your life in a good way like that. I think those words are pretty explanatory, but I'll go briefly about each one. So the first one was respect. So respect pretty much means you just honor all creation and treat all creation with respect, be it the 2-legged, the 4-legged, the many-legged, all the tree spirits, the rock spirits. Just treat everyone in a good way. And show them that the honoring of their being. Love, I think, is again pretty self-explanatory. You know, love yourself, love each other, love your elders. You know, I heard the other day that the 3 most powerful words in the English language are "I love you," and that I think that says it all. Honesty is just live your life true to yourself. You know who you are and live your life as close to who you are as possible. Next one, the courage. Just courage is kind of related to that. Have the courage to be who you are. Have the courage to live your life the way you want to live it, with respect to all, and just have the courage to stand up for yourself, stand up for your rights, stand up for other people who are weaker than you, stand up for the children. You want them to be safe grow up in a safe environment. Also be a teacher to them, teach them how to live a good way in life, teach them what they need to know in order to live life in a good way, live life in balance. Let's see, next one, wisdom is to learn to be true to yourself, learn what you need to know in order to be a good citizen of this world. Get that wisdom and that knowledge to make a difference. It's a waste, if you don't use your knowledge and don't use your wisdom, it's a waste. You need to be able to channel what you learn in a good way to advance yourself, advance your family, advance your children, and advance this world to be a better place. Let's see, humility. It's just being humble, not doing things because you get a slap on the back. Do things because you know they need to be done. Do things because you know what's right. You know what is needed to be done. And a lot of times you don't get acknowledgement for that, but you don't do it for the acknowledgement. You do it to improve yourself, to improve the world, to improve Mother Earth. So that's to me what humility is. And truth, the last teaching is truth, and that's to kind of follow the 7 of the 6 previous teachings and to live your life in truth and beauty. So those are ways that the Ojibwe people try to live in balance, try to live a good life, try to help the people, help the elders, help the children. And I guess something related to that, again, it's the Ojibwe term called namaji. And that basically means dignity, honor, and respect, living your life in those 3 ways. So that's kind of related to the 7 grandfather teachings. They have some words in common. Respect is common to both of those. So, respect who you are, respect Mother Earth, respect the water, respect your elders. Just respect everything that the Great Spirit has given us and shown us, and to live life in a truthful way, in a meaningful way, but that's true to yourself. That in order to do that, I think you need to know yourself. That's an important thing, is to find out who you are, find out deep down, be honest with yourself and figure out who you are and what you want to be. And, I think that's important. And then once you do that, then you can really, really start enjoying life. So those are the teachings I wanted to just briefly touch on. Any questions from anybody? And I think that's it for me. Short and sweet.
Miigwech, thank you so much, Stan. And so now we'll pivot to our final session, Reflections of Mother Earth. And this is going to be led by Karen, who I am going to let her introduce herself.
Thank you. Uju, everybody. I hope everybody's feeling good after that great lunch we had. So miigwech to Jessica for providing that great food for us. Uju, Indinawe Maganadug, Ogamakwin Indigenous, Wabajation Indodame, Odawa Zagaya Ganing Nindunjaba. Anish Ojibwe Anishinaabe Kwe, Igaye Medewana Kwe, Igaye Niju Mede Kwe Ndao. Nigigado Chimigwich, Gichi Ayaag, Igaye, Nimekwainamin Nananig, Gwinawainamag, Anishinaabe Kwewag. Neo Gijgukwe, Ijinikazot ni mama. Igaye Niju Megizikwe, Niju Megizikwe ban Ninokomis. Igaye Buduniban, Igaye Ikwe Widugaban, Aniku Bijiganug. So a little bit about what I want to say here today is my name is Ogimakwe. My government name is Karen Donahoe. And Ogimakwe in our beautiful Ojibwe language is lead woman, woman chief, boss lady, as I'm known. Those who know me and love me put up with me as boss lady. And I come from that great Lac Courte Oreilles Reservation, Odawa Zagaya Ganing, and I am of the Martin clan. I am also a second degree Medewan. I am of the Medewanakwe society, and I obviously am Anishinaabe Kwe in that Ojibwe realm. So I am also a daughter, a sister, a mother, an aunt, and a grandmother. And I would like to take a second here and acknowledge all of my elders that are in the room or listening on Zoom, that I don't stand up here to pretend that I attest to know anything or everything at all. What I know is just a little bit. And I just want to share some ideas and some thoughts that I have around reflections of Mother Earth. And then in my opening, I also acknowledged, because it is Earth Day, because we are Anishinaabe, because this city is a big hub, I also acknowledge those ones that are murdered and missing of our Anishinaabe Kwe. So my family has a long history of being at Odawa Zagaya Ganing, Lac Courte Oreilles. We call ourselves the Odawa by the lake. And there's two stories that go with that. Both of them acknowledge that when all of the migration was happening and how we came down here, part of what helped us stay was there was a young Odawa couple by the lake. And our ancestors that settled at Lac Courte Oreilles were not going to leave that young couple. It was coming into winter. One part of the story says that the young mother was pregnant. The other part of the story says they had lost a child, but either way, they were not leaving. And so we stayed there with them. And then when the French came, they called us Lac Courte Oreilles, Lake of the Short Ears. And there's a version there that it was because we did not adorn ourselves with heavy jewels at the time, our native jewels, and that our earlobes were shorter than other tribes. The other part of that is also that our corn grew smaller. So we had the short ear corn. So take it what you will. Those are the two stories of where we are. And we live amongst our relatives up there. We'll get into a little bit of that more. Oh, go back one. There we go. There we go. So I grew up there at Lac Courte Oreilles. And as my mother said, all of her daughters were born here. I'm the youngest of 4. And she moved home when I was a baby. So never mind the year that she said. It was a mere 25 years ago, I promise. And I grew up at Lac Courte Oreilles. That's my only home that I've ever known. And is it gonna work? Ta-da. And I went to tribal school. I am a descendant of a boarding school survivor, but I am also a graduate of tribal school. And in my tribal school at the Lac Courte Oreilles Reservation, during my tenure there, the Ojibwe Code for Long Life and Wisdom is what was seen and talked about and practiced. The staff and the administration at our school system wanted us to know these things. Thank Gitche Money for all of his gifts. That's something that we did when we offered our tobacco. We did our prayers to start off our week of school. Thank Gitche Money for all his gifts. Honor the aged. In honoring them, you honor life and wisdom. That talks about our elders and what we talked about earlier throughout the day. You hear many people reference our elders. Honor life in all its forms. Your own will be sustained. That one is important. We as well talked about that today too. You know, when we talk about reflection of Mother Earth, that's the one that hits me the most, is honor life in all its forms. Because what we do to this earth and what we do to the plants and what we do to the animals, we do to ourselves. Because without them, we will not survive. We are dependent upon, as you heard earlier, we are dependent upon every part of creation for our own existence here on Mother Earth. In honoring women, you honor the gift of life and love. That's our future. We cannot have a future without our women. In honor promises, keeping your word, you will be true. How many times have you heard us complain about broken treaties, right? We've all lived it, right? But our promise to the earth is that we will live in harmony with all of creation. So how do we keep that with the way that we live today? And so that is our promise. Honor kindness by sharing the gifts, you will be kind. You know, growing up at the tribal school, I had a Native history class. I had very little European history. I had all Native history. And that's one thing that we learned in there, was by sharing all of our gifts amongst each other in our community, we were raising our community in that way. It wasn't hierarchy, as you heard before. Everything that we did as part of a community for our own survival. Be peaceful through peace, all will find the great peace. Be courageous through courage, you will all grow in strength. Be moderate in all things, watch, listen, consider, your deeds will be prudent. That was done by Basil Johnston. So those were the things that we talked about in school. Those were the things that we had hanging up in every single classroom. That's what I remember. And today we have, as we heard Stan talk about, our 7 grandfather teachings, and they all coincide with each other, the Code for Long Life and Wisdom and our 7 grandfather teachings. And one thing, I mean, I'm not going to reiterate what Stan was going over or any other presenter, but what I want to say is I am a forever student. I am a forever student of our beautiful Ojibwe language, and I love learning. And in the process of my learning, I was asked, how do you incorporate that into a policy? Think about how you incorporate that into your workforce policy, where you work, what you do. How do you include these 7 grandfather teachings in that? What is missing from your code of ethics to include the 7 grandfather teachings? So that's that was one of my assignments. One of my final assignments was how do we make culture present in what we do every day? How do we put our teachings into the work? How do we manifest that into the work that we're doing? And we can include those 7 grandfather teachings and all of those things that we do every day. Include those if you're a student. Try to figure out how to include those into your final papers or your dissertation. You know, how do you include those? How can you make your dissertation so that there is culture? Maybe it's not Ojibwe culture, maybe your culture is different, but how do you include those that represent your culture into what it is that you're writing and doing? One of the, you heard my mom talk about, and others talk about our clan system. And our clan system, as it came down, it was given, the animals stood up for us, not only as food, shelter, and clothing, but also as a way to govern ourselves. And through our clan system, we had a way to, everybody had innate attributes. Crane clan were great leaders. Loon clan, Bear clan were warriors and healers. Martin clan, we were security, hunters, warriors, and strategists. Notice we can do it all. Because I'm Martin clan. Fish clan were the wisdom keepers or orators. Like everybody in our clan system, they had special abilities, either that came from the clan that represents them, or just in there. Sometimes you're placed in a clan just because the things that you could do naturally. And all of our clans functioned communally so that every part of what we needed was taken care of. Single mothers didn't need to go out and work and get food. If they had babies at home, the men were there, those hunters were there to provide food for the community. Maybe the Bird Clan women were out picking berries, they provided that food back to the community. So if your sick grandma couldn't go and gather berries, somebody was taking care of her. And in our great story of migration, should be next, there we go. Our great story of migration this is the Ojibwe story, and it takes us from the East Coast along the St. Lawrence River over to the Great Lakes area. And the elders in our lodge, our Metis Lodge, went over that quite a few years ago. And they spent, 4, 5, 6, 7 years, whatever it was, they spent trying to recount the timeline for the migration from to the east along the St. Lawrence River from the moment of the first prophecy. And they determined, part of what they determined was that we arrived here, the end of our migration was at least 500 years before European contact, not 1492, but before European contact, so earlier than that. And that was at our 7th stopping spot. And in the 7th one is the last one, the first one starting at the east over there, that one probably occurred 700 to 1,000 years before the 7th one. So we began 1,500 years ago, give or take, in our migration story. And how does that tie into the clans? Well, let me tell you. All of our clans played a part in that migration. Our way of governing ourselves included everybody's input. So the Bear clan would meet, the Loon clan would meet, the Crane clan would meet, Wabajeshis would meet, other clans would meet, and they would have a discussion that there's a move coming and what do we need to do? When is the best time of year to do that? Who's, what do we have to plan for? How are we going to do this move? The conversation started. Who's going to plan for any controversies along the way? What is the controversy that we foresee? Like all of the things that involved a 1,500-year migration was done in sections, and it was done with everybody's input. And it was done considering the land that they are in and the land that they're going to. What have we learned from where we're at? What can we take with us that's medicine? What can we take with us that's food? And they walk that path on that great migration from the East Coast to Maryellen Island. And maybe the Bear Clan said, you know what? We're ready. We've got plenty of whatever it is we need, And Wabajashi again said, we'll provide the security, we'll travel ahead, we'll come back, we'll scope it out, and then we have to plan this trip. We're going to do it in sections, how many days are we going to be traveling? They don't know, right? Because it's a migration. So our clans come together in that kind of a way. They acknowledge all of the areas of our communities, all of the areas that we need to survive as a community, not a hierarchy system. And that's what we forget sometimes. We came from that far and we are here today and we are thriving. But what did it take? What did our ancestors know? What did they learn? And part of what they learned was all the medicines that they needed. Every spot they learned of the food that they needed to survive, the medicines they needed to heal the ailments, all of the beauty that they saw along the way, all of the food. So in our creation story that my mom talked about a little bit this morning and somebody else talked about a little bit too, I don't want to talk about the creation story as much. We have Abiinooji. Abiinooji was the spirit that was placed on the earth, and his job was to walk the earth. And Abiinooji was a powerful spirit, powerful being, and we're not allowed to tell stories about Abiinooji when there is no snow on the ground. He is at rest. So in order to not tell stories about Abiinooji, I'm going to talk to you about his responsibilities to honor the teachings that I grew up with as a child, that this one does not get talked about. The stories do not get told. But Abiinooji was placed here by the spirit to walk across all of Turtle Island that was placed here, and to name every plant, every animal, every bug, every being, every tree, every root, every lake, every river. And so in his walk, you can see who's standing there with him is Maingan. Maingan is the wolf. And Maingan and Abiinooji walked all of Turtle Island, which is what we call this continent that we live on. And in our story, in Abiinooji's desire, knowing that the children were going to come, the Great Spirit's children were going to be placed on this earth, in his desire to prepare everything and to please the Creator, he did his work, and he did it in a kind way. And he's the one that found these medicines for us. Asema is tobacco, Gijik is cedar, or Gijik kondug, sometimes it's called. Wingushk is sweetgrass. Bashkode jibik is sage. And we put those together, we get a nukwajagan, which is a smudge. And so Abiinooji, when walking this earth, he identified all of those plants harmful, all of those plants that are medicine, and all of those medicines that we have are four sacreds, with the tobacco is always first. With that Asema, there is a conversation. that, you know, with Abiinooji looking at all of these beautiful plants that the Creator had placed here on the earth, the Creator could not partake in any of this beauty, not in the same way that humankind can. And the spirits don't partake in this beauty in the same way. And so that asema is that first medicine, and it comes from that most beautiful plant. Those are plant medicines there. And asema, I stumbled across in my research on something or another, I stumbled across this this document. It was a pretty large database of all the plants in America that different tribes considered tobacco. And it was probably, I want to say there was like 500 plants or something, but don't quote me on that. And every tribe across the United States has a form of tobacco. Plants, and they're all natural plants. And in those natural plants, Abiinooji was trying to figure out how it was that we could use this. And in our relationship with the Creator and in the Great Spirit, with our love that is given and reciprocated back to us, Great Spirit wanted it known that they can place asema, that Anishinaabe, his children, could place asema, offer that asema to talk to the Spirit at any given time. And so Abiinooji went and picked the most beautiful, fragrant, adorable, loving, kind, beautiful plants for our use as tobacco. And there's when we burn it, you know, when we burn our tobacco in our pipes, that beautiful aroma then gets carried up to the Spirit. That's the only way the Spirit can interact and partake in the beauty of creation, is what we send up to the Spirit. And same with cedar, sweetgrass, sage. And we will burn them together in that nukweshigan, that smudge. And so when we think about, at least when I think about reflection of Mother Earth, this is it here, is in the children. That's my granddaughter up there picking sage with us last year. And she did her work diligently. It was a hot day, probably the last hot day we had of the year. And she didn't complain. She just walked out and did it. Her grandma was out there picking sage. Her great grandma was out there picking sage. Her aunties, her cousins. And she was strong enough to stand out there and do that work for 6 hours, I think, for 4 hours that we were out there. And so Gikain done is to know it, to know those plants, to know that water, to know that tree, to know creation. Gikain done, know it and how you know it. Connect with the earth. Learn about the plants. Take that extra time and find out what that tea is. How can I pick it? What is it good for? You know, there's so many plants. As you can see, what's growing there, what's at the end of the year, those last few plants. What is there? Gikain done, he or she knows it because she's done it. My granddaughter knows what that is. She knows how to pick sage. She knows how to harvest that medicine. And do what we know and teach what we know. So if we do what we know in that good and kind way, as Stan was talking about in our 7 grandfather teachings, we can teach it in that good and kind way to the future, to the 7 generations that are going to come after us, because it starts with every single one of us. Gikanu ama, teach him or her. Gikanu amage, she teaches. We are all the teachers in our own bubble. We are all the teachers here on creation, because we are the ones that are now carrying what was left to us, and we have to pass that forward. And so what do we want to do about water? Ninga ijichige onje nibe. I will do it for the water. And so our Medeo Lodge, Armaday Lodge about 20 years ago, maybe, had asked that question. You know, he had posed the question, our leader, Bodwood and Benesi Abun. And he had posed that question. He had put the scenario out there. There's going to be a day where a gallon of water costs more than a tank or a gallon of gas. And everybody got quiet and he said, well, what will you do? And so our grandmother, Josephine, and other grandmothers like my mom here had their ideas about what it is they're going to do for the water. Josephine and my mom launched the water walks. Josephine had walked every single one of them, for all of them, except for the 4 directions. The 4 directions one, she went to a little bit of each one and then followed with the last one. So that's what they decided to do for the water. As you have heard, that water is not a renewable resource. Our water, what we have, the Great Lakes region supplies, has the fresh water for what, all of the country or something, like the world's largest fresh water. So the scientists, as great as they are, have come up the reverse osmosis, if anybody's looked up that, where they can take salt water, do the reverse osmosis trick, and then turn it back into drinking water, or at least usable water. I don't know if it was drinking water. I don't know, has anybody looked into the reverse osmosis idea? Yeah. Yeah. Right. Yeah. And then they try to take out the salt, right? The reverse osmosis. Yep. And they put the salt back in the ocean. So we're going to take out this and put this back and play around with this and add that. That's the only way that they can foresee. Some of those places down south have no water, and their community water is to such a point that they have to draw from the ocean, right? That's the philosophy. So, Ninga ijichige onjinibi. I will do it for the water. Ninga ijichige onje mama akin. I will do it for Mother Earth. So as we talked about changing one thing in our daily lives to preserve water, changing one thing in our daily lives to honor Mother Earth. Ninga ijichige onje mama akin. I will do it for Mother Earth. So if you have a hard time thinking that, oh my gosh, that's such an extra step, think of those phrases. Well, I will do it for Mother Earth. If I'm not, you know, it's a burden for me, but I will do it for Mother Earth, because she's the one that we need to step forward for. She's the one we're here for today, is our Mother, the Earth. And when we do that step, we take that little step to change one thing that we do in our life. Maybe we don't throw our food in the garbage. Maybe we stop using paper products. Certainly cut styrofoam out of your budget, right? There's one thing that everybody can do. And if we all collectively do one thing, maybe there'll be a change in the next 7 generations. Because it took us, what does it say? It takes one generation to lose your language and 3 to get it back. So if it's going to take us 1 generation to give up something, maybe in 3 to 7 generations, it'll be better. Like, because we pass that on, the change we make, our children will grow up with that. Our grandchildren will grow up with that. So if we're steadfast in not using paper products, then our children will be steadfast in not using paper products, and our grandchildren won't even think about what paper products are. So I'm a big advocate for language. I'm a big advocate for passing these teachings on. And you'll hear me reiterate that over and over again. And so if we're not going to do it for the water, we're not going to do it for the earth, maybe we'll do it for the children. Ninga ijichige onji Abiinooji. Maybe I'll do it for the child. Maybe I'll do it for the children, Abiinooji Aki. And so when you look at what it has taken for us to get here in our post-migration period, our colonized period, we're stuck in that colonized thinking of self-gratification, what makes it easier for me, what benefits me. Let's change our thought a little bit to do what will benefit the children of the next 7 generations. So I want to thank everybody, Bizendawishin, Miigwech, Bizendawiyan. Thank everybody for listening to me today. I don't know that I took up that much time, hopefully. Hopefully it was something that you all enjoyed hearing. Hopefully that I said something, I shared a thought or an idea with you that resonated in some small way. And my last one, oh, where'd it go? I don't know, I lost it. I would encourage you to look at spiritofthewater.org. That is the website for the Women in Water Coming Together Symposium. And registration is available, camping is free. And in that, I heard a little bit of talk about health equity. If you want to see health equity, come to a cultural gathering such as that. Health equity should not be about who's going to pay for the care. Health equity should be about you getting the healing that you need with just a simple small offering of tobacco, right? Because that is our belief as Native people, is that tobacco always comes first. And so with that, I think I'm good. Is
Beautiful.
that good? Anybody have
Absolutely.
any questions? I did a good job then. Oh, yes. Okay. Go right ahead.
Can you talk about what inspires the different stages of the migration?
So her question is, what inspired the different stages of migration? Is there were 7 sacred prophecies that came, and they are substantive, but the first one was the vision that came of the pale-skinned race, right? So the coming of the colonizers, or whatever they call them at the time. So that was the first one that encouraged the last. And in each one, they were hundreds of years apart. And in each stopping place, there was a new prophecy that came, and that encouraged them to move farther, with the last one being going to the place where food grows on water, so the land of the wild rice. And so you can Google them, 7 prophecies of the Ojibwe people. Does that help? Okay.
I wanted to ask you about grandmother Josephine. If you could, she was such an inspiration and is still an inspiration, and how she walked. If you could just say more about that, because probably not everyone knows what she did and how far she walked.
So grandmother Josephine, Bidasage Ban Ishinakazod, her Shinabi name was Bidasage. She was a grandmother in the Medewan Lodge, and she had her and a group of organizers planned the Mother Earth water walks. And she walked all around the Great Lakes, each of the Great Lakes. She did the migration walk from the East Coast to Maryellen Island. And then there was the 4 Directions water walk. So that's 5, 6, 7. And then she did a last one, a second time on the migration, the St. Lawrence River, right? And so in every place, so my mom discussed that a little bit, was the water walks, was that you carry the pail during the day, and at night, wherever you were, you offer tobacco, you go and rest, and you start at sunrise the next morning. And so Josephine had a whole group of people helping her organize and providing support and logistics for every single one of those water walks. And so with her and her helpers and supporters and all of the people that came together, they were successful in doing the water walks around all of the Great Lakes, twice along the river and once in all 4 directions. So from the north up in Canada, from the south down by the Mississippi River, where it meets the Gulf of Mexico. Is that where it meets? I'm bad with geography. The west, I think they started in Washington, over that way. What was the town? And then they walked east, and then in the east they started and walked westward, and that was the 4 directions water walk. Is that better? Yeah, I didn't want to cover it too much because I know Mom had already spoken about that a little bit. I was trying not to be redundant, and I hope I wasn't. So anybody else? All right, miigwech.
Thank you, Karen. Bozo, my name is Cassandra Solis, and I am the Associate Director of Health Affairs, Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. Zamina Vahora, another member of our ODET team who checked you all in as you came in, put together reflection cards for all of us. Adriana is currently passing those cards out now, and we want to encourage those online to also participate in the chat through the chat feature as well. And so we'll drop those questions in that are on these cards that we're passing out. And so we hope that you are all able to join us in writing down a commitment that you're willing to make in the hopes of helping to care for and protect our water. We'll collect the cards and we'll place them on our bulletin board here in the ODET Center as a constant reminder of both our time together today, as well as the joint responsibility we have to preserving Mother Earth.
Thank you. Thank you. And with that, I will pass it on for our guests to close us out. Thank you.
Grandmother, grandfather, there is no other. And Mother Earth is all that we have. Grandmother, grandfather, thank you for our life. Our life is all we have. There is no other. Grandmother, grandfather, thank you for each other, because we're not in this alone. We have each other. No matter no matter, people come into your life sometimes, and sometimes you have a good experience, sometimes you don't. We all learn something from somebody, whether it be negative or positive. So thank you for each other. There is no other. Whatever we learn from one another, we don't learn from anyone else. So we're going to close with that song, and that song we sing at Women in Water, and it was given to women in water. So, okay. Okay. Wait. I don't want to sing yet. No. Okay, it goes like this. Grandmother, grandfather, thank you for the water. Grandmother, grandfather, there is no other. Grandmother, grandfather, thank you for the earth. Grandmother, grandfather, there is no other. Grandmother, grandfather, thank grandmother, grandfather, there is no other. Grandmother, grandfather, thank you for each other. Grandmother, grandfather, there is no other. Grandmother, grandfather, thank you for the water. Grandmother, grandfather, there is no other. Grandmother, grandfather, thank you for the earth. Grandmother, grandfather, there is no other. Grandmother, grandfather, thank you for our lives. Grandmother, grandfather, there is no other. Grand there is thank you for the water. There grandmother, grandfather, thank Father, thank Father, thank
During the ceremony this morning. So we'll hear.
Miigwech, miigwech. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone, for being here. If you're still filling out the cards on your way out, please go ahead and place them on the table and we'll collect them from there. And again, folks online, feel free to place them into the chat. And again, please help me in thanking Maryellen, Ann, Bill, Greg, Stan, and Karen today. Round of applause. Thank you. And miigwech to all of you for joining here and also online. And the list of people on the back of the program does not begin to cover everyone that needs to be thanked. And last week in particular, we had a few mishaps with the center and with our tech. So a huge shout out to Manny and Jimmy from UIC Tech Solutions, Jessica from Pace Technologies, Stacy and Sam from the library, Rob from UIC Creative and Digital Services, and a lovely team of engineers who set up the really cool looking cooling unit in the back of this place because it was 90 degrees in here last week. So thanks to them for making this place comfortable for all of us today. Please take leftovers. I hope some of you brought Tupperware. There's plenty of food to take. And please give feedback on the program. If you scan your phone, it'll take you to a feedback form. And on behalf of the ODET team, miigwech and Bama Pimain or Potawatomi for until another time, as there is no word for farewell, and we expect to see each other again. Thank you so much.